Do we even have a show topic yet?
Yappy Hoonier. Hey, Patreons.
Hi, Patreons.
We just realized that we've been running around here trying to get the New Year's show out, and Scott asked me a very simple question right before I hit the camera button. Would you repeat that for our Patreons?
Do we even have a show idea yet?
And I said, Happy New Year? Yes, we have several.
Yes.
I seem to recall a show employee doing a lift on a Gladiator. We have a new project that another show employee is going to be starting with a 84 CJ7. Okay. I love the look on his face.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, we have questions.
Well, not really questions, but I have let's see here.
All this in the show hasn't even started yet.
Yes, exactly. I want to talk about the Hennessy Maximus Gladiator. I'm sorry, that was kind of cool when I just saw that.
The 1,000 horsepower?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and I promised you, Patreons, this joke will be later, this show is Twisted Tea free. So...
Okay, you put that one past me.
There's a video with a guy with a twisted tea getting knocked right out.
Okay. All right.
If you've been on Facebook, you've seen the memes.
Well, shall we rock and roll our way into this show?
Oh, my God, you got me. I don't have anything to say. Guys, he got me. Was it Casey Kasem? Dick Clark's Rocky New Year. Take it away. Oh, yeah. This is not boding well for me, guys. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, lordy. All right. Are you recording this, I hope?
I am now, but then it records on that.
Yeah, I hope it does. Patreon's going to be like, say, what? Yeah, because it was playing through the line out. That's
yeah.
Don't you love the technical issues here?
Yeah, I promise. Work fine. Or about ever. That's how I get rid of people.
I do have to, before we get into New Year, although Happy New Year.
Yes.
And I'll show the Patreons, the only ones that see this. Scott got me a really neat present for Christmas.
I figured it was a bright idea.
Yeah. How's that for bright? Hey, look at that.
Hey, it led me to thinking about you. Back on track. Ow. Chasing the purple dot now.
It's a neat little LED light pack, battery powered, magnetic clipped hangers, all kinds of neat toys. Mm-hmm. And you'll hear about the fact that he now wishes that I had opened my Christmas present earlier.
We could have used it a couple times. The whole time I'm laughing under the Jeep going, Scott.
About that. Yeah, we haven't started the show yet. So, all right. So, are we ready? Do you wish to start the intro, or do you wish me to begin?
I got an idea.
Oh, Lord, heaven help us.
Manageable vegetable.
The simplest things can mess him up.
3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! I said that too loud for you, those of you who are sitting there going, ow, not so loud, Scott. Ow, ow, ow.
Or as I like to say, Yappy Hoonier.
Yappy Hoonier. So with that, we're going to take it away. Kevin, why don't you introduce the show, buddy?
Hey, Jeeples. Welcome to the January 1st episode of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott in a blessed New Year 2021.
Yes.
Congrats to every one of our listeners, Patreons, corporate Patreons for surviving 2020. And to continue with Scott's bad joke, we can now live a full year of having true 2020 hindsight.
And see, the worst part is it's after the fact, so I can't make the joke with the Ramones song, 2020, 24 hours to go. But see, by the time you hear this, that joke won't be good anymore.
Won't be valid. So, I'm Kevin. For those that don't know, if you're coming new to the show, I am the engineer. I am an engineer. I'm the guy that reads instructions. There's a lot of other manuals, too, and actually enjoys it. Mm-hmm. I tend to use the correct tools as long as I own them. And I'll actually follow the instructions because somebody figured them out. And I love writing letters back to manufacturers when their instructions don't quite work. And we'll bring that up here in a little bit as part of the show this year. And you are?
And I am Scott. That's right. I am fresh from the parts counter, live and not at all direct from the Kevin studio. And while I'll sit here and say that I used to be the slapstick parts guy, which I still am the slapstick parts guy, I am also the one that now, thanks to Kevin, Merry Christmas, that will also use a torque wrench. But had I just come not from work, I would show the Patreon via video that you got me a torque wrench. But moving on from that subject, I mostly follow the instructions. I really do. We joke, but I really do follow instructions. And
but you still do use a lot of duct tape and zip ties.
Yes, I do. And with that, while we will always share what worked for us, as well as what didn't, remember, it's always up to you to read the instructions.
How about do your research?
Do your research, read the instructions, and please follow them. I got that part right.
You did, and I'm impressed with it. And it's, as we start our 5th year.
5th year, yes.
Yeah, that's wild. I need to be 5 years old. I'm sitting here realizing the shirt that I'm wearing from Jeep Fest, which is fantastic, except that, did you see the date on it?
Yeah, it's 2015.
It's a 5-year-old T-shirt.
Is it the last time you went wheeling?
No. Wait a minute. Do you want to go sweep out the garage from the last time I went wheeling? I sent you a picture of what Jeep looked like. I was just out last week.
Well, before we get too carried away, because I just had to look it up last minute, welcome to show 108, guys.
108, yeah, because otherwise he'll forget it. And if he doesn't remember it, I won't put it on the videos, and you'll all go, what's this mystery show?
No, I'll remember it on the way drive home going, curse you, memories.
Well, true to the 2020 hindsight, we will need to look back into 2020 to cover the prior 2 weeks.
Yes.
And the prior 2 weeks were, anybody in the world that knows our show would have come to my shop and looked and said, something's wrong. This must be, what do they call those things, backward days? Opposites day.
Opposites day,
It was an opposites day through and through.
Right.
Because I will say, folks, that yours truly was sitting on a stool, cold drink in hand, and watching my cohort, who is normally on that stool with the cold drink in his hand, laying down under a Jeep, a 2020 Gladiator, a Rubicon, no less. Twinsies, not his, installing a 2.5-inch factory Jeep lift.
And I'm going to byline here because I can hear the typing of going, why? Okay, first off.
Because he asked me to stand down?
No, well, here's some of the things. And during the research, a coworker of mine, Warren, he purchased it, and he bought a Jeep just like mine. Of course, he put the 35s on, no lift, factory wheels, no spacers. He used 11.5-inch wide tires, and loved the stance, but wanted a little more lift. And he's not going to really off-road. What you got, Kevin?
I just wanted to say, Warren, thanks for letting us share this story with our listeners. We appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. So I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Oh, yeah, and it's actually kind of funny. Other things I said came true. His girl got him a Jeep hat, and it's her hat, too, sitting on the thing. So now she has a hat from when we had the top back. But that's another inside joke. But one of the cool things is that Warren, he does a lot of research, and he took a lot of what we said to heart. And he was looking at Clayton lifts. He was looking at Metal Cloak lifts. He was looking at Rock Crawler. He was looking at all of them. He was on the phone with these manufacturers. He was online looking at reviews, forums. He was doing everything.
Yeah, and it was nice for him to come in. He goes, none of them are bad. I said, no. I said, but which ones work for what you want?
Right.
And he actually thought about it.
And he thought about it, and, for what he wanted to do, which is he might go off-roading, and I'm kind of nudging. Yeah. The Mopar lift, when he first suggested it, I had my reservations. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But, as we all know, the internet, there are deals to be had, and he got a heck of a deal.
Yeah, well, it also doesn't help that he's in the automotive business and knows how to push buttons if necessary.
Well, and it's actually a 2-inch, not a 2.5. I don't know if I told you that or not.
Oh, no. You left me thinking it was 2.5. We got like 3 inches out of it when we installed the bloody thing.
Well, it's all, yeah. But one of the cool things is that, some of the lifts he was looking at, he was like, I really don't, should I get shocks? And he was challenging me, which was really, really cool. And the interesting thing is he basically called me out
Oh, sorry, that's me bumping a cable.
He basically said, Scott, you always talk about how you do all this stuff. Why don't you do it on my Jeep? Teach me. And I'm like, oh, goody. Time for me to put up or shut up now.
Yeah, and Scott called me up and said,
Kevin?
And I said, the best way to learn is to teach.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, and then that's the thing, too, is that, I learned by making a lot of mistakes. And the last thing I want to do is make a mistake.
And hurt somebody.
And hurt somebody. So I told Kevin, I said, look, man, will you mind sitting down there and making sure I dot all my T's and cross all my T's? Yeah, dot all my T's and cross all my I's. But
and yes, I made sure he didn't do that. But
but one of the cool things is that again, I have my reservations because the Rubicon Gladiator comes with Fox shocks and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, you're basically replacing one Fox shock for another Fox shock, So,
but
we get the
let's just punch to the end. What was his comment after he drove it home?
He was like, man, this thing rides 10 times better than stock.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow. So we commenced Operation Install Lift. And I won't go to the whole ins and outs because there's all kinds of stuff. But putting that lift in was new. I mean, coming from the JK world, I can see the differences. And actually looking at some of these axles on the Gladiator /JL, you can really tell where Jeep paid attention where the axle weaknesses were.
Yep.
Those C's now are massive.
They are. Even though, now on this one, since it was a Rubicon, that was 44 front and back.
Correct. Wide track 44.
Wide track 44. But if you looked at the C's, they were every bit as large a forging that I have on my Pro Rocks. It's a much, much better built vehicle. Yes, before they start hating mails coming about, but it still has its limitations. Remember, it's still a mass market vehicle, but it's a much better starting point as a mass market vehicle than I think the JK was. In all honesty, just from a starting point. Now, it just meant that to get a JK up to snuff, you had to do a little more work.
Yeah,
but
it's just a natural progression. Like TJ's had a short arm system. The factory JK control arms compared to a factory TJ control arms.
It was a massive upgrade.
It was a long arm kit. So
it was also a lot stronger. It was box tubing, fully welded, as opposed to stamped sheet metal on my TJ.
Yeah,
half of the articulation in the TJ came from the fact that the front arms twisted up like a pretzel,
kind of like mine did. Cough.
Yes, yours just stayed pretzeled.
But again, so the natural progression of as we're putting this lift kit in, there's a couple questions about the instructions, but I mean, like me personally, Kevin had a great idea. To avoid damaging the rear Mazeppa joint, they suggested limiting.
They went through the whole thing about lower it down, limit, watch the Rapaza joints, flange the way the stub spindle comes out of the Rapaza, and don't let it hit, and don't let it bend metal, and don't tear it, blah 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 blah. And my only comment, and FICA, if you guys are listening to our show, you claimed you were the last time we were at SEMA,
right?
Just to have people disconnect and hang up the drive shaft. It would remove that risk of damage. The only weird spot that I did jump in, probably full tilt, was to help get the new rear springs in, and we had to use a spring compressor. And I wasn't about to let somebody cock a loaded gun. If you ever use a spring compressor, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
For the first time without a little bit of support.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you stepped in. But all in all, I mean, again, it's just typical. The instructions say 4 hours. You break for lunch. You find the 10 millimeter you lost 22 times. And it's a good full day later. Getting everything dialed in, I mean, the Jeep stance is nice. It looked
we
great.
Had every part. We did not have to make a parts run for anything.
Right.
Think about that. Compared to many installs that we've done over the years, and more that I've done on my own, I was impressed with this kit.
Yeah.
Quality was there. The kit is fixed length replacement lower arms for the front that actually that despite the lift, kept the alignment dang near perfectly on. And the only thing, and you have to expect it because we did not change the track bar, but you lift the axle, that's going to move your axles about a half inch to the one side, which turned off the steering wheel. Not turned off, but turned it off center. And we had to do a preliminary reset so that he didn't drive home and get the steering ESP freak out.
Well, and it's funny because he texted me later after he was home. He's like, man, drove straight. The steering wheel was great. He's one of these OCD guys that his steering wheel has got to be straight. He's like, man, you guys are really impressed. So thanks, Kevin. You made me look really good.
That was one where I stepped in with my high-tech Mason's Twine front-end alignment system.
One of the coolest things that Kevin and I realized, again, that It was in the instructions. It's go up there and remove this clip from the frame rail.
Yeah.
And they even extended the wiring harnesses to the sensors by 3 inches.
Right. That's built into the factory. Now, I don't know if it's in all of them, but it's in the Rubicon. It may be in all of them because this instruction was for all.
Yeah, pretty much.
You go up there, and if you follow the wheel speed sensors, the ABS sensors and that kind of things, and even the brake lines up to where they mount to the frame, and then you look up, you'll see that the line goes and doubles back on itself with a little plastic strap holding kind of a U-shaped loop in it.
Yeah.
And they tell you to disconnect that, stretch it back out, and then replace the clip. And boom, there's your extended brake lines.
Yeah, everything. It's like, wow, even the wiring to the sensors, everything.
So,
but honestly, stepping back away, when he first told me he was looking at that lift, I was apprehensive. But after installing it, seeing it, driving it, riding, he let me take it for a spin. You know what? I am thoroughly impressed. That is actually maybe in the wheelhouse for Dory's.
It was a nicely done kit. It really was. Now, folks, if you're going to go out there and slog through the rock bouncing and the wanting the maximum articulation, ride be blasted. I won't say the word I usually use.
Yeah,
it's not for you.
No.
But if you're looking for a solid lift, just to get you, when you put 35s on, yes, they fit, but they kind of fill up the wheel well a little bit, and you want to get yourself a little bit of airspace and feel like you got a little more of a lift for riding in the cab. I was impressed. It's a well-made system. The parts were fantastic. They were, I was kind of expecting, okay, this is a dealer lift. It can't be all that. No, it was right up there with some of the great ones. Yeah, it's not a Heim joint or a Heim joint derivative. It's a regular bushing system. I'm sorry, I'm pulling a
natural rubber.
Yeah, no, I'm talking the
Johnny joint.
No, the regular bushings have a term too. I just can't. Cleveite. Okay. They're regular Cleveite bushings. That's the problem when you get old, folks.
And it is late at night.
Yeah, it is. In all the bushings, and but the kit was thorough. It was well made. The instructions were, I would say, 99% spot on. There are some challenges that we approached at the end. I kind of jumped in to help at the end, mainly because
I was out of gas.
Scott was running out of gas. Warren lives over on the other side of town, and I don't have a spare bedroom. Yeah. So this had to get done. And the light was fading. Yeah. But it was torquing. You have to torque the chassis bolts, the frame arm bolts. They're supposed to be torqued. Some of them are like 190, 200 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
And you don't be tempted like a lot of people are. And the question came up in our assembly from Scott and Warren is, they say to loosen, but don't remove these bolts. Why do I bother with that? Well, once again, when you're working with Cleveite bearings or bushings, the rubber is bonded to the outer shell and the inner shell. It doesn't slip.
Yeah.
And it's installed with the bolts loose and a load on the suspension equal to the ride height. That's 0. And then you tighten the bolt very tight, and the center bushing is essentially married to the chassis, and the outer sleeve of the bushing is married to the swing arm.
Yeah, with teeth almost.
They had teeth on them. It's radially cut teeth to gear in. And if you don't let them relax at the 0 point, you've essentially bound it up in one direction.
Yeah, and so you're putting it on the ground.
You're probably going to tear it apart in quick order. So that's why you do loosen them, allow the joint to relax is the best way to put it, shift. Put the truck down on its wheels or put it on jack stands and get the full load on the suspension. I even bounced it a few times to get it to settle in, and then you tighten. The problem is getting 200 foot-pounds of torque under a vehicle with a 30-plus inch long high-force torque wrench. We didn't have the swing on some of them. Yeah. So we had to do it by reference, where we tightened as much as we could. And then we checked it. Well, I used the gun and then checked the gun on the ones we could get to and adjusted the gun roughly to get in the range so that when I checked it with a torque wrench, and then I took it down to the ones I couldn't get to and ran them all in hard. And Scott's like, how many Ugga-Duggas? I said, till the air compressor runs out of air.
Well, it's actually kind of funny when you said all this, because one of the guys on the forum said, "Man, I can't get these bolts loose," and everyone answered, "It's 200 pounds. Wait till you try and put the ones back next to the skid pans.
Yes,
you can't get your torque wrench in that."
Yeah,
So again, once we got on the,
he took it back to the shop, and while they did the front end alignment,
we were able to get swing on that thing,
and then you could get the swing with it sitting on its wheels, but up in the air, that you can get in there and go to hear the click.
I'm happy to report we were within 10 pounds.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but the really cool thing about the lift, again, I'm not a fanboy of any lift for the most part, but the shocks were they had the bushings on the one side to address the shocks connecting the frame during
the angle shift during it.
Yeah, it was pushed out, like an inch and a half, and like, wow, I mean, that's pretty cool. Instead of putting a bracket, the shock is made for it.
Right.
And that was
so,
really
folks,
cool.
what he's talking about is the bottom eye on the shock. You normally have another Clevite bushing, or it could be a polyurethane bushing, and the inner sleeve that connects to the axle bracket is usually centered in 99% of all shocks. Okay, well, this kit, the shock, the center bushing is longer than the width of the joint, and it's offset to one side. So the entire shock body, the lower end is moved. Was it outboard or inboard?
It was outboard.
It moved it outboard. So they were very specific about which side to put them on. And that was to make sure, as you use the suspension, the shock body wouldn't strike anything.
Yeah.
And it was, that level of detail was really nice to see. Really, and even to the point, here's one. If you choose to do this lift, and it is doable, quite frankly, you do need to watch the clocking of the springs. There's pocket marks that you put them in, but they're very clear about how to use them. But here's the strange thing. There are 4 different part numbers.
Yes.
You cannot... Well, you can mess them up, but you should not mess them up. You should read, make sure, and that's part of the reason I think it ran so well, was they have calibrated each coil spring to its load, whether it's a right front, left rear, etc. Don't mess them up, but they're well marked. It's hard to mess it up.
Yeah.
But the instructions were really, like I said, 99% there. There were a few... What do you mean here? But was able to take care of it. We did it in a driveway, not on a lift, with jack stands and a floor jack. And believe it or not, the jack stands were tall enough. One situation for the rear end to get it to drop low enough, we had to put some 2x6s underneath the jack stands just to get that extra inch and a half till I could flex it down. And even then, it didn't work too well. We had to compress the springs. Let's see, what else did... there was nothing electrical, nothing plumbing-wise.
No, it bolted right up, and away we went. We went for a small little test drive, and as Kevin and I, it's funny because I told Warren, I said, I need to make sure I bring the yellow tire marker so we can go through every bolt, so we could look through every single thing, and I didn't bring it. And he goes for his test drive. He comes back, I'm hearing a clink. Rattle. Here in clink. Okay, so we get up underneath. We found where the parking brake cables went through, and they started rattling. Because you relax everything.
Yeah, you moved stuff around, so they were slapping where they weren't slapping the frame before.
So we zip tied those up. He goes from the test drive, still hear it. I'm like, oh no. So of course, Scott, when this is in my defense, this was reassembling everything and running out of gas.
We're about 9 hours into this work.
I forgot to tighten one of the sway bar links, but that's why you do a quick test drive.
Yeah, you do. He'd run them up finger tight and had forgotten, and needless to say, Warren took it for, even though it was a short test drive, he comes back with, I hunted for every pothole and manhole cover I could find, and it rode great, but it started rattling. And it's a good thing he did, because otherwise then he'd have gone all the way home. And
we're missing a bolt.
The bolt. So it was very easily accessed, and Scott kind of took a deep breath and slowly creaked back down onto the kneel position.
Hey, you know what? My fault. I'm underneath there,
And he brought that thing back up to Ugga tight. So anyway, that was a very interesting situation for me. You don't know how hard I was twitching, to stay seated in that in that seat. And I think for at least 75% of the time, I stayed away. I could also tell, though, you have an interesting foot twitch. That when you start to get nervous, your one foot starts doing this toe tap, even though it's
kind of like it's doing now.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going, so what's up, Scott? Oh, nothing. But you mind taking a look at that? Yeah.
Yep.
But the hard part was, okay, right there, you do that. Where? There. Here? No, there. Give me your finger. Here. Oh, okay. And then go sit back down.
Well, again, a lot of it, and it's funny when Warren's like, you really knew what you were doing. And I said, again, I've done a bunch of lifts on JKs.
Yeah.
JK I know in and out. It's 18 and 19 millimeters halfway through the front of that vehicle. I know the JKs.
Yeah, we were into the 21s, 22s.
Yeah, and I'm like, I said, honestly, I literally got up in my own head because, again, it's a coworker. I don't want anyone to get hurt, And now for the emails going, well, what about the previous people? We went through, and Kevin was there for some of them. Other people were there. I was just the point man, if you will. But again, it was actually kind of fun. But switching gears a little bit though, because we talked about V8s and the 392 Hennessy. Yeah, if y'all know who Hennessy is. They just released they're actually going to sell them $225,000. You can own the Hennessy Maximus Gladiator.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got the 6.2 liter Hellcat
power
supercharged.
Yeah, boosted to 1,000
horsepower. Upgraded transmission, of course.
Yeah.
Upgraded the transfer case adapter. They said.
Yeah.
Dana 60 axles front and rear. 6-inch lift on 37 tires. With a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty.
Try to collect on that one.
Yeah, well, it's Hennessy. They've stood behind stuff before.
Oh, they have. But I'm just sitting here going, okie dokie, no, thanks. And again, not anti-Gladiator, and this will probably drive a few of you, including the Gladiator owner across the table from me.
A little bit. I'm thick-skinned.
It's big.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you know me. I like my little, forest rat.
That's your next Jeep name, Forest Rat.
Well, if we had a forest, this one would be named that, but we don't have any down here.
You got one like 300 feet that way.
That's not a forest.
Okay.
That's scrub. The biggest tree out there is probably, 12 inches in diameter. No, I'm talking about, you get me up in the mountains, the Appalachias, out in the
proper forest.
Yeah, where I can go find an old fire road or an old logging trail. I tell you what, I still will, and I haven't been everywhere, folks, but my favorite off-roading adventure to date has been Alaska. And it was through the timber log areas. What was I can't remember right now of which of the forests it was. It wasn't up in the main part. It was down lower, like off of down in the Panhandle area, right. Skagway area. And I can't remember the reserves out there. They've since grown back up. But taking the logging trails with a Jeep team up through that thing and running the ridges and, digging through the trees and then finally popping out and finding yourself, 6,000 feet up on the side of a mountain.
Oh, that's a long way down.
And exactly. Well, I still remember the trail lead.
Trees. Cliff.
He's like, all right, this last run's going to probably get you. And he says, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, but follow the Jeep behind you. You're not going to be able to see off either side. It gets really tight. There's some deep grasses. He wasn't kidding. And I'll explain that comment in a minute. But he said it's imperative that you stay in your Jeep in front of you's wheel tracks. Don't try to move to either side. Just stay there.
Stay in your lane.
Stay right there. And it's okay. Everybody's going, okay. And we're getting slower. And we found out later you got slower because you couldn't help but hit the brakes. You didn't go either way, either side, but you're coming through the forest, and it starts to get broken canopy. And lo and behold, then you go into like this grassy area, and you realize we're up, but the grass gets real deep. We're talking, I don't know if it really was grass or what the heck it was. I've never seen grass that was, 4.5, 5 feet tall, other than a savanna grass.
Wait, you live in Florida during the summer. You wait a week.
Yeah, no, it didn't get that tall. That bends over. This was standing upright. And
right.
You're watching it slap the bottom of the mirrors, as you're driving down.
Wow.
And you're going, I can't really see anything. This is weird. Okay. But then all of a sudden you come to a stop. The Jeep in front of you stopped. And then it goes on a little further, and then it stops again. And it goes a little further and it stops again. And I'm going, what the heck's going on? And then you see the Jeep in front of you kind of goose it, and all of a sudden he slams on the brakes, and they sit there. And I'm kind of going, well, I don't see anything to stop for. And then he finally eases on and keeps moving, and you pull up behind him like you're going to, and you slam on the brakes because there's nothing there.
Surprise.
You're on the top of a ridge line. Now, you guys out in Moab in that area know what I'm talking about. You're running the ridge peak. There is a Jeep width trail, and then it tumbles off for another 30 feet on either side, man. But that's what it's called, rock tumble. And then it goes down, and and at first I'm going, oh boy, I got to move to the right. And my wife's like, oh my God, the gap over here, don't come my way. And then she looked over, she goes, don't go your way either. And so all you can do is put it in drive and go forward and follow the Jeep in front of you. And the truth was, the trail had gotten run down that you had a hump in the middle. It kind of locked you on.
Right.
You'd have to try. And once you got over that, you were up in a logging area where and you want to talk about trees. None of I'm going to be a little snarky here. None of the young pups would get up on this thing, but it was an anchor tree for the old logging lines. They would used to have those steam-driven cable ways to pull logs down the mountainside. And then they took that tree down afterwards, but that tree's base was probably anywhere from 8 to 12 feet in diameter.
Wow.
And they're all, their trail, like, anybody want to get up on top of that, take a picture, anything like that? And they're all looking around. I said, well, hell with it. Move out of the way. I'll go up there. I may be an old guy, but I climbed. It was the best view in the house, because you're standing up on this tree base. It wasn't rotted at all. It had been logged up 150 years ago, but just immense vista. You look down over, into the harbor area, thousands of feet down, and look up and see. That's my kind of wheeling, and I love that kind of exploring. But
that's the thing I like too, is that again, everyone, they're like, hey, let's go out there and roll the Jeep and see what happens. I like that adventure wheeling too. I like a destination, like that Eastern Seaboard area. I would love to go out there. I like the idea of the starting one area and ending another with some challenges, but some stuff to see. That's one of the things that, like, I know I'm getting so much closer to getting Warren to go wheeling, because some of the pictures he was looking at online were people in Alaska. Again, it wasn't gnarly rock crawling and bouncing.
No, it's not.
But holy, you couldn't do it in a sedan.
But when you needed it, but when you needed some ground clearance, we crossed creeks, they called them, down here we'd call them rivers. And then the logging roads were not maintained. They had water washes through them. They were full of the rock they had used to build the logging road was 3 and 4 inch cobble.
Right.
So that's right. But it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. So anyway, we segued off. So
it's a free form show. I mean,
well, it really is at this point, since we started off going, oh boy, it's a new year.
What do we do now?
What do we do now?
I've decided, like most people, I'm going to wait till July
before you declare it a loss or win.
Before anything, I'm not going to say this is my year. No, not going to say that. I'm going to dip it in one toe at a time and go, okay.
Hey, look, when you get to my age, you're going, any year that I'm waking up in the morning is a good year. 2020 was fine. I survived it. I got things done. A little slower than normal, but a little more careful. But now my Jeep has permanent decorations of a gator and a mask, so that I can pick my face covering.
I said it at work the other day. I said, I got to wash my face diaper tonight, and everyone started dying laughing. You're right on with that. I said, you ever sneeze in this thing?
Yeah, exactly. It's the same function as a diaper.
You're wearing a gator, you just flip it upside down or turn it around. You got 3 times more to do it. You're fine.
That's what I try and explain to people when they say, well, why do we have to wear a mask? It's I'm not going to get sick. I said, no, it's not. It's not to protect you. It's like a diaper. A diaper doesn't keep what off a baby's ass. It keeps it off your lap. So
I gotta bleep that out now. Start 2020 with a good one. Here, take that picture.
Hey, it's to be expected from me.
Yeah. You want to take a quick break and move on over to the garage segment, because you talked about an 84.
Yeah, we will talk about that. So go ahead and take your break. And do your announcing.
False start, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down. Hey, Jeepers, it's Scott here with your morning announcements, I guess. It'd be tater tots and pizza.
Now, if it was really morning, I don't think anybody, they're all sitting there. If this is morning and somebody's listening, they are hardcore listeners, so hats off to them.
Absolutely.
Most of them are probably on the second or third day going, okay, just let me have one more Excedrin. And
and today's lunch will be pentagon-shaped pizza. Was it pentagon or octagon? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It looks like a stop sign. Tasted like one,
octagon.
Tasted like one, too. But anyways, so as we always say, take time to check out the onthetrail.com website, because I forgot other things. Also, you want to become a Patreon, see the show, again, as little as $1 a month. Thank you to all of our corporate Patreons, and also to the 4x4 Radio Network.
I was about to say, that was the part you're supposed to remember.
Yes. I can't remember much. Okay, I did wear pants. Okay, that's good. 2021's off to a good start. But anyways, with that,
especially for me then.
Hey, there's a desk here. You're fine. Just don't drop a pen. You'll be all right. On that note, Patreon, you getting this? The guy's about to ready to snort laugh. Anyways, on that note, we are going to tippy-tire on into Kevin's garage. Hi, Kevin. How are you today, buddy?
Which, by the way, if you saw Scott's apologetic video, which is public, you have seen the inside of my garage. It is a real garage. And no, it is not some exotic shop with lifts and all the fancy tools and that stuff. It's a 3-car garage, okay, with all the junk, bicycles, and, or right now just one bicycle, lawnmowers, and a big bunch of tools and stuff shoved in every corner.
Yeah, well, eventually you're going to have yourself a proper shop. Well, not proper shop's a bad word. You're going to.
I am hoping
your dream shop. Hopefully,
I am hoping so. Now, what we were going to talk about here was a new project up and coming. I have been talking with one of our local Jeep shops, and he is kindly letting me give him a hand on a project that apparently most of the other shops kind of went, no. A gentleman brought a very, very nice looking 84 Jeep CJ7 in. And
it's the red one, right?
It's the red one.
Ooh, I heard that thing run yesterday.
Yeah, it runs really well. It's really nice. But it's been modified.
Yeah.
And not the way I modify. I'm not trying to brag or push anything. I'm just saying it's been kind of cobbled. It started life as a nice 4-cylinder manual transmission CJ7. Somewhere along its life, that got removed. Somebody did the expensive and put in a 4-liter 6. At least it stayed Jeep. But that's where it gets a little strange, because it's not a 4-liter 6 that would be appropriate to that year Jeep.
Okay.
It's not even an early YJ. It's a either very late YJ or early TJ motor.
Oh, so they didn't put the 4.2 with the 4.0 head. They just.
I don't know. There's not enough info for that, but it has the horseshoe manifold. Like our Jeeps have, as opposed to the log manifold that should have been on it at that time.
That's why I went,
But it's also, somebody's put a carburetor on it. It has a General Motors coil-on rotor cap distributor. Yeah, it's been creatively constructed.
So it's a parts bin.
Well, maybe. Now, I remember going back that there used to be, I can't remember if it was ever factory, and you guys can correct me on that if it ever came with a GM distributor, but I don't believe the 4-liter ever did. But I do recall back in the bad old days of the Renix ignition systems and those kinds of things, there was an aftermarket company that provided a General Motors HEI type distributor that was modified to drop into a Jeep 4-liter.
I can't remember, but I think my 88 Comanche had it.
Okay, it may have been a factory
I can't remember, because I remember having the 2-prong on one side, 3-prong ignition module that was set down inside.
No, this isn't like that. I know what you're talking about.
No, you're right, because I had the star spinny thingy inside.
Yeah, that was this one's got points.
Okay,
but it's got the coil pack on the cap.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't have that.
So it's kind of I'm going okie dokie, but whoever did the swap didn't know enough to remove the Renix wiring system. So there's connectors and wires hanging all over this. It's also got an alternator from a late model TJ in it, which is kind of interestingly wired. But on the firewall, you will still see a regulator. And there are wires to it, but there's also a lot of wires in between that are cut and hang. Long story short, what the gentleman is asking for is, would somebody rewire my Jeep for me? New. Just do a complete new harness.
Yeah.
And Mark was in the kind of a mode, and I said, hey, Mark, if you want some help on that. And he looked at me and said, seriously? I said, yeah, as in, I want to play. To me, this would look like fun.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay. So I'm going to go do a little subcontracting for him. And I've already gone and dug out the 84 manual. And sure enough, the 84 service manual, wiring diagram, and it looks exactly like the rat's nest that's hanging loose on the side of the engine. And we are ordering I won't call it universal, but it is a multi-year crossover wiring harness from Painless as soon as it comes in.
Sweet.
And it does have, it's not quite as versatile as the American Auto Wire that we used in the previous CJ7, but that had an LS and a computer system, and so I had to have that ultimate harness.
Yeah.
This one's a little simpler, but it's got the necessary leads to get you from about let's say 79 to 86. Okay. But you have to it's got the body harness, which is consistent, but then the rest of it, you got bundles of wires and plug-ins, and you cut to fit. So what I've got is an 86 manual, and I'm using that because the motor most closely wires up like an 86. Okay, not perfect, but it's closer,
right?
As far as where sensor,
a clean blank slate to work with.
And we're going to construct a one-of-a-kind custom harness hybrid.
Sweet.
And I'm really looking forward to it. And everybody who hears me say that you're weird. Yeah, yeah.
It's something different.
It is.
It's a challenge. It's using your skill set.
It's a little bit of a challenge, but in truth, everybody that got nervous, I looked at it. I said, look, it's a Jeep alternator. Okay, yeah. The kit connects to a Jeep alternator. I get to pick the year of the plug, and the harness is already there.
Right.
The engine, this I'll give whoever did the swap kudos for, big time. That GM style alternator, distributor, one wire.
Nice.
One ignition wire.
That's cool, man.
And that's it. The carburetor is a 2-barrel Holly.
Really?
Yeah. And they actually had those in a lot of the GMs, but it's not your usual. Everybody looks at it and says, oh, that's a 2-barrel Carter, which is common. You saw those in a lot of the 70s vehicles,
right?
But you look down this thing and you realize there's progressive linkage. It's half of a 4-barrel. So you run on 1 barrel for economy, and when you stomp on it, the secondary opens. The secondary, not plural.
Yeah,
opens.
I even said the same thing there. The secondary. So wait, now it's not 650 CFM,
but it has an electric choke on it.
Yeah,
which is just a 12-volt lead, goes on with a key, and that's all. Yep. So really, the engine itself, which normally would be the headache, is been simplified down to the point that, all right, I got a temperature sensor, got an oil pressure sensor. I don't have a NOx sensor anymore. I don't have it. But, you're looking down at this thing, and, okay, that's got like I said, a late model horseshoe manifold, but it has a single 6-into-1 exhaust. And
I'm sorry, coming from the parts world, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this.
Well, and guess what's hanging off that 6-into-1 exhaust? It gives me a better idea of the year.
The head?
No, an O2 sensor. It's not wired to anything. The wire's just hanging there. But you realize that at least the harness came from a fuel-injected engine.
Is there a computer?
No. Like I said, it's got a carburetor on it. Okay? But because you can take a fuel-injected engine and swap it out.
Right.
So I have yet to have a chance to dig deep enough to see if there are ports in this horseshoe head for the injectors, and are they plugged?
Okay, yeah, because that's a big. See, again, I'm trying to wonder if, again,
with a horseshoe head, with a horseshoe intake, it should have, but I think there's a few horseshoes that were on carbureteds before they threw away the log manifolds.
The only thing I can think of, as me and you talking, is I know the 4.0 head on a 4.2 engine is a very popular swap.
It is, but I'm talking about the manifold.
I know, that's why I'm kind of
the horseshoe manifold. Most of them you see have the injector ports for the fuel injection. This doesn't have fuel injection. Now, like I said, I was too busy goggling at the wiring, trying to figure out if this was a foolish project or if it'd be fun to go back and start doing that retroactively, because I have heard of people taking the putting an adapter on the log, on the horseshoe mount. I've heard them doing it on the log manifold, but I don't see why it couldn't be done on the horseshoe. And you just take where the injector plugs in, and they tap it with a national pipe thread tap, and they run a tap down, run a pipe plug in it. So I'm going to look for that the next time. And so, folks, to all of you out there in listener land, if you're interested in the tech stuff, let us know, because I'll give you reports as this goes along. I'm estimating that it's going to be 2 to 3 days. The biggest thing really isn't. This sounds really weird. It isn't really the engine bay.
Right.
It's not even the dash, even though the dash is a little bit fiddly.
Yeah.
It's getting the back taillights in. The driver's sides are easy. The passenger side, you got to drop the fuel tank to get the wire across.
I was going to say, you didn't shift gear, warn me with a clutch next time. We went from engine bay wiring to the tail lamp wiring.
I just followed the harness down the side. But all of the TJs, YJs, CJs, that crossover harness runs right in the frame C channel at the end of the tailgate, right above the fuel tank. And you remember helping me take mine down? We had to take that whole row of bolts off and the 3 up front, slowly let the whole thing down.
I know.
And we were lucky none of them broke. But that flange line up there, I pointed out to you, that was where the convoluted wire loom went across.
Yep.
And some people say, oh, you can just rip it out. Not if I'm getting a client who wants a full-on harness restoration. The tank comes down. Mm-hmm. Now there's no fuel pump in it. There's just a fuel pickup and a gauge. So I do have to, run the wire for the gauge. So it's remarkably simple as far as number of wires compared to what I'm used to, but it's going to be fun to take a multi-year harness and figure it out. So that's why I have actually right here, Scott, next to me. And for the Patreon's sake, that is the entire electrical chassis harness wiring for an 84.
Wow.
And it's right out of the factory service manual. You've heard me talk about them, guys. This stuff is gold because I have to know what I'm starting with. Because most of the Jeep is still 84.
Right.
And that is the wiring diagram out of an 86. Which is the closest that I can get to.
So you're making yourself a Rosetta Stone.
I am doing my best to make a Rosetta Stone.
Gotcha.
All right, in this harness, this wire. Now, then the third one will be the manual for the painless wiring kit. Okay. Now, of course, Painless's wiring kits instructions are good, but they're written about the idea that you have a 1984 Jeep that you're restoring to brand new 1984 wiring. I'm not doing that here. I'm doing most of it is 1984. Yes, George Orwell. And I'm also doing a little bit of 1986 and a lot of 2021 to make the pieces fit.
Can we nickname this project?
I don't care.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I know the
59,
song.
57, 52.
Yeah. Well, you could say the same thing about Slightly Altered, too.
Well, yeah, but this is more of interesting, though.
This one should be fun. We're going to take a day of disassembly, pulling the harness out carefully as it drives. Mark's looking at me when I'm telling him that, okay, I'm going to bring out blue tape and a marker. And he goes, but you're taking... I
remember this.
Yeah, I'm going to take it out, label everything, because I may need that as a reference. It may go absolutely smooth, and I may be able to just go plug and run and, I doubt it. I expect there's going to be, I need 2 key switch ignition wires, one that is, for the coil, and one is for the choke.
Right.
But the kit only has one. I don't know that yet. I haven't seen the manual. But I'm like, okay, so now what? What's the amperage draw on a unknown carburetor heat coil? What's the amperage draw on the GM distributor? Can that circuit carry both? These are all little questions that come out of nowhere.
This is also questions we talked about earlier with the table.
Yeah.
If you think about it, everything comes together in a giant circle.
Yeah, right. But anyway, just to prove how oddball I am, I find this fun, interesting, and a neat challenge, because actually I'll be a little disappointed if everything goes perfectly smooth.
The customer won't.
No, but and the end result is also to take the wiring diagram and edit it so that he has something as a final document to keep in the Jeep should somebody else need to service it.
Right.
Because I'm not in this business.
Yeah.
I'm in this for my friends. And like I said, a lot of my friends I'll help, including those that do it for their income. Just because it helps the Jeep world.
Yeah. So. And that one of the cool things about this is, A, it gives us show material, let's be honest.
Yep.
And two, other people might have the same situation. So when you look at buying those Jeeps that have been other people's projects, this might be a situation where you're looking at a Jeep going, is it worth to buy this Jeep? That might help someone else.
So that's true.
You know what I mean? So again, it's not a bad thing.
No, and I hope this does help someone. And please, as always, Scott will give you the email address. Please feel free to email or Facebook message with questions, and I'll do my best to answer.
At onthetrailpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep. And we've had a few of those where we've been answering questions and talking about why I did something, and I'm always willing to help that. I will not make your decision for you.
Yeah.
Because it's your decision. But if you want to know why I chose what I chose, why did I put this axle in the Jeep? Why did I do that? If I can answer it, On the other hand, why do I make it a sleeper and not slash the fenders off and lift it, and put 42s on? Ain't me.
And that's one of the things that I thought was very interesting, because Dory and I, we talked, and this year we want to get out and do more off-roading. And a friend of mine actually at work posed a question. He's like, hey, are you going to lift Dory's Jeep? Are you going to do this? What are your projects for your Jeep? Because we talk all the time about, people ask, hey, what's your next project? What's your next project? What do you want to do? What are you going to build next? And my answer stunned them. They're like, Scott, I know you're going to get rid of the rest of the sins in your lift, but what's your next project? And I said, go wheeling.
Yeah.
Just as it is. I've spent the last year, working my tail off because I'm an essential employee and all hands on deck. I haven't wheeled as much as I wanted to this year.
Yep.
I want to get out. Kevin and I want to get out, and we want to go and enjoy what we have. Again, not to sound like an elitist, which I don't sound like I am. Ooh.
Yeah, I think that's the bad cable.
Yeah. Not to sound like I am, but, and again, don't take it the wrong way, but I'm okay wheeling what I have.
Yeah.
I found an LJ that, again, I had to work through some sins, but my 4-inch lift, even though my eye's twitching, I got a good set of tires. I want to go and learn. I want to go out there and brush and dust off these skills that I haven't really used. We got a little fun play area we play with, but I want to go dust off these skills. I want to go wheeling. I just want to enjoy what I have. You know what I mean?
And one of the challenges we have down here, folks, unfortunately, is where we are. It had to do with where I came to work and where Scott works and his wife. There's not much beyond sand pitting around here. There's a couple of pay per run areas.
Yeah.
There's some public lands. They're pretty, in a 1 to 10 scale. They're 0.5.
Yeah.
There may be.
Then they shut those down.
Yeah.
They didn't want any large groups through there.
Yeah. Well, that was more COVID related. They didn't want the you go in the 2Z, 3Zs, you're okay. And so from that perspective, and we're not asking for sympathy, we just normally we every year haul our Jeeps and our what's up north and Jasper. Get up into North Georgia, Jasper, Tennessee area, all of those, and that's a blast. That's my kind of wheeling. I love it. But this year we didn't get there. We didn't get to SEMA. We didn't get to a lot of places courtesy of 2020. So I'm with you, Scott. I want to get out there and get gone. Go disappear for a while.
Some dirt therapy.
Yeah, and we'll make some time. We'll make some time. I'm very envious of Mark because he tells me about it. He says, I own the shop. I just go, you know what? I'm closed this week. Sorry, folks. Bye. And he disappears into Tennessee and, ran out to Utah.
My boss walked up today and goes, hey, Scott, you're carrying over 40 hours, right? I said, yeah. So I'm leaving the 1st of February. I'm gone for a week, going to North Carolina for family, but I'm leaving, and I have more. Actually, I'm only taking 2 days, but the point is, though, is that I told them flat out, I'm going to be using my vacation this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to go away. I want to go do these things. But as far as, if someone ever asked you, what's your next project, it's okay to say, I just want to go wheeling. We talk about it. One of our most common emails is, hey, man, what should be my first mod? And we tell them, sway bar links, disconnects.
It's an easy one, and then go wheel it and get used to it and see what you like.
Go learn it. Go out there and have fun. Enjoy what you have. Life is too short. Take that off-road trip.
Yeah.
Take the time with friends. Build friends. Build family. Go and enjoy these things. Make memories, and you'll find out that a Jeep, doesn't matter if it's a TJ, CJ, LJ,
YJ,
or whatever J's, you can go out there and have fun with it.
Yeah, you may have to pick a go around. Yep. You may choose to pick a go around. Mm-hmm. For example, I'll be honest, I'm the first one that will take the go around on the mud pit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've done enough of that. I'm okay now. Thank you.
Yeah. I've replaced enough radiators, air conditioner condensers, had enough crud slammed into the intake system.
Yeah.
The thrill wasn't quite, it was fun, don't get me wrong. Hitting that water pit was more of a mud pit, was a lot of fun, but the weeks afterwards was not that much fun.
It only cost us 2 transmissions in the JK, a piston, a
connecting rod,
a multitude of pulleys. Even like I just turned 160 on the way here, 160,000 on my LJ. Okay, and after 3 years of ownership, I finally replaced. Kevin had to help me chase down a couple squeaks, but I replaced the alternator, idler pulley, and the tensioner pulley.
Yep,
because they all started going bad because that citrus, finger quotations, mud, which is basically valve grinding compound, took all the bearings out.
But folks, in all honesty, I'm not saying don't ever do it for you. I would do it again if I hadn't done it already. It was a fun experience.
It's a rite of passage.
But now I've paid that bill.
Yeah, we're good.
And there was nothing at the end. It was just a big long mud pit. And
I just realized. I remember one cool thing. A sidebar. This is technical. This is garage related.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna borrow the clicker for the garage for a minute.
We're already in the garage.
The TSB. The Gladiator steering box replacement.
Oh, right. You've experienced that.
Oh. Okay. Now, when we had the JK, speaking of wandering and crazy things, basically what we had was a situation involving I would hold the steering wheel on the JK, and it would wander ping-pong in the lane.
Yeah.
And I was constantly correcting it. Well, of course, when we get the Gladiator, I'm like, oh, those worries are gone before me.
Well, let's back up. You did have the steering box eventually replaced under a service... warranty.
Well,
because of the crack. I know. And so then go ahead.
Well, there's an asterisk in that.
Yeah.
Well, I still had that wandering after a while. So Kevin and I, we weld washers in the track bar. We replaced the track bar.
Yeah.
We did all these things, and I still had the wandering.
Right.
Well, I was getting ready to replace control arm bushings because I thought that was my problem. The new owner messaged me and goes, "Yeah, I had to replace the steering box. It was bad." I'm like, "Whoa, there's a fucking steering box in that thing." But anyways, I thought, okay,
that's what they told him.
Yeah, we got the new Gladiator. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Driving home the first night, I'm like, why is it wandering? No, it's bad enough my TJ now is wandering because of those steering box issue. Thank you, Kelly. Kevin, gotta get that done. So every vehicle I own has a mind of its own. But so Dory's like, she's like, I don't feel it. Well, she drove to North Carolina and came back.
Long drive.
I kind of feel it now. So it took a while to get some in the Gladiator forums again. The stuff done right away. Some are taking months or...
Well, it depends on where your dealer is in the parts hierarchy of priority of shipments.
So what we did, is we decided to wait on doing any kind of lift just in case of the whole steering box thing.
Yeah.
Because some dealerships are kind of like, well, you got 40s and a 6-inch lift, so there's your problem. We don't want to do the lift, but that's another conversation for another day.
Swap, not the lift.
Yeah, the
box swap.
Box swap. So lo and behold, we waited our turn. We got the phone call, and I took it in, and they knocked it out in one day.
Yep.
And I drove it home, and man, what a difference. Right out of the gate, as I'm leaving, the steering was so much... Crisper, yeah.
Tighter.
Yeah, it was tighter, because I don't want to say light, heavy. The steering was heavy, but in a good way.
Yeah.
You know,
you
felt
were
more
connected to the road. Yep.
And so I drove it home a little bit on the interstate. I'm like, I don't really feel it. Dory's like, I got to wait to see how I feel it. Because again, it was a windy day. You still don't know what's wind, what's not.
If it's a Jeep, it's a wind.
Yeah, pretty much. But so we went to Orlando. Mm-hmm. And man, the whole way there, drove like a dream. So if you have a Gladiator, I think it also covers some JL models. Mm-hmm. Get your TSB done.
Yeah.
Get it done, because it is day and night difference. And again, I don't know. I think it's the structural. I think it has to do with the box too, because you have to replace the bolts. But I think it goes from. The box is made differently and out of different materials.
Yeah.
So you're getting
You went from an aluminum box to a cast iron box. You went to a heavier flan with webbing that mounted it, so it required larger, longer bolts to bolt it in.
Right.
And that stabilized a lot of the flex, the only way to put it.
Yeah.
It was allowing the movement. And you didn't feel it as bad initially, simply because of the longer wheelbase. The longer the wheelbase, the more trail it has behind it.
Yeah.
And so the wander doesn't happen. You get nice and short wheelbases, and you have squirrely up front, and the thing wants to do the cha-cha on you.
Yeah. It's like the Jeep handling mullet, squirrely in the front and cha-cha in the back. Sorry, I had to resist. I couldn't resist that.
Yeah, you did. Well, Scott, I think we have bored these good people well enough, if they're even awake. It has been a strange, after New Year's.
Well, literally, the magic's gone. If you look at the time now, it's like, man, it's almost time to pop champagne for the pre-party for the next day.
Oh, Lord. Anyhow,
well,
to that end, we will keep you guys apprised of the progress on the red CJ. Johnny Cash. See if there's any interesting development there, or if it's a no-brainer. There's the one last thing I'll throw as a little tip from the garage. Now, I have found that Amazon has noted the increase of Jeeps in the world, and they are now carrying more and more obtuse oddities that you normally wouldn't find.
Big word here.
Yeah, well, all right. Have you, with Jeep using the convoluted tubing, right? In the wire looms.
Yes.
And of course, they didn't use the high temperature, so every one of them in the engine compartment is now crumbling away.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to that, all of the little clips that are like little clamshell clips for the convoluted tubing that, you have to pop open and then it breaks in half, or when you take it out of the hole, the wings break off and die.
Yep.
They now carry full sets of those. Now, they're not Jeep specific, but for under $20, you can get like a 60-piece set of all the convoluted tube mount clips. And again, some people, they can drive with all the wires just flapping in the breeze, no problem. I can't. Drives me nuts, that I want the thing mounted. They even have the reversible zip ties. In other words, you can put them on, and there's a second little tab sticking out the front. You squeeze that, and it lets you take it back off.
Yeah.
Well, you say that, because you're in the parts business, but the rest of us morons haven't been able to buy that stuff off the counter.
No, I said, because I seen you do it, because you have one in the back of the monitor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, folks, you can start, if you're willing to take a little bit of time to figure out what it's called. That's usually the challenge.
Yeah.
And I got them in, and the tidbit hint, it's not perfect, but of course there's the real cheap ones, but they're usually made of simple PVC plastics or not phenolics, I'm sorry, but anyway, typically most of them that say made of nylon, you'll notice they cost a bit more than the bulk kits, but that they are the ones similar to the manufacturer's originals that will give you some lifespan.
Sweet.
So there's a lot of little toys out there that I'm using to clean up. The last thing I'll throw out was the horn. Okay.
Oh,
Did we talk about that?
We did not talk about the horn, no.
I got enough embarrassing comments from other Jeepers about the TJ's horn.
Let me put an asterisk in this.
Yes.
Some of the comments is that Kevin is not a train horn guy.
No, I'm not.
He likes onboard air. That kind of works. But when it comes to train horns, that's cool.
Some people like them. I'm just, because I guess if they were only used as a horn and not abused as a terror weapon, I would be fine with them.
I wish you were joking, but you're not.
I'm not.
I got my Ugo horn we got to hook up too, by the way.
Okay, oh God. And plus, most TJs would benefit if a train horn was facing rearwards to give you that extra boost of acceleration. We're almost to 60 miles an hour. Hit the horns.
All right, 61. 58.
Anyway, but if you like them, that's fine. Just, if you toot them behind me and startle me, you may find them disconnected and driven over. No, you
toot them behind Kevin, you might find yourself face to face with a twisted T. Moving on.
Oh, nasty. But I did replace, after getting enough people accusing me of having a tired Prius horn. Literally,
there's a happy medium between a train horn of mass destruction and terror and the Prius horn.
Yeah, the weak Prius horn, the low battery. Yeah. And I say, okay,
the anemic Prius horn.
Yeah, enough said. So I did find out that I was able to get a pair of deliberately mismatched, what they call tonal mismatch.
Yeah, you got a high and low note horn. That
but they clash.
Yeah.
And was able to make a little sub harness to plug into the Jeep harness, so I didn't have to cut into my factory wiring any more than I have to, and then mounted them underneath. And actually, the very first day, we'll glad to say they actually saved me from an accident.
Okay.
I was coming out of coming down the road, and a gentleman, it was on Hillsborough Avenue, just out of nowhere on a side street, just barreling out of there, and I laid on the horn and locked up the brakes, and he panicked, his eyes turned white, and he slammed on the brakes and slid off into the side, not into the ditch quite,
right,
but I do believe the slightly altered dark paint scheme tends to make it disappear in the evenings, even though I've got more lights on it than my Christmas tree sometimes.
So basically what you're telling me is that when you hit the horns, because you said the horns kind of clash, you rocked his Casbah?
Pretty much.
Okay, did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that's another little tip. If you get to the point that you're sitting behind somebody who's facing the phone and the lights turned green 30 seconds ago, and you're going exactly, and they're not even looking up from their horn, you can fix that.
Yes. What brand was it, if you don't mind? Hella? Okay.
It's Hella. Just the same people make lights, make horns, and it turns out when you see the bodies and the casting materials on them, they're the same style horn exactly off the Jeep. Sweet. The difference was I didn't order them with a vehicle-specific connector. I ordered them, with the universal, which are just the tabs you plug onto with a regular spade connector.
Sweet.
And then I took the old connector off of the old horn since it was dying, ground it down and cut it and turned it into an inline connector so that I plugged it right into the harness.
Sweet.
So those are some of those little simple things that I think it was $16 for a pair of the Hella horns.
There you
go. And changed it, and it definitely made a difference. The TJ is now commands a little attention if necessary. I don't like to use it too much, but if somebody's going to hit me,
they'll have to change their face diaper and their other diaper.
Yeah, well, they'll lose. But I'd rather not have to repair another set of side steps again.
Well, that's like whenever the guys at work looked at me the other day, they go, "Man, you got all the armor around your Jeep," and I said, "Yeah," and people still want to road rage me.
Yeah. You wonder what's going. That's wonder.
You're driving a Corolla, man. I got more metal in my bumper than you and your quarter panel. Don't. Just don't. Just don't. Go away. Go be angry somewhere else.
Well, folks, we hope you all have a great focus on this new 2021 and make it everything that 2020 wasn't for you. We're still, like Scott says, wearing the face diapers and dealing with that. And I know not everybody in the world is. Not everybody in the country is. But remember, you're not wearing it for you. You're wearing it for everyone else, so you don't cough at them and kind of pollute them with your germs. We are looking forward to a brighter year, hopefully more opportunities, I don't know. For some reason, I'm just kind of in that hopeful mode. I think it's going to be a good year.
It's been a year of despair, and I'm actually with my head held high going, you know what? Let's just see what happens.
Yep. And we will make it to either Georgia or Tennessee this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put the quarter in the jar for that. I'll put 50 cents because I want to go.
Yeah, well, even Susan is saying, we need to go somewhere.
Yeah, no.
She's so used to not having to worry about going somewhere because there's always been a Jeep event that we needed to go to, or this that we needed to go to, or Las Vegas for the SEMA show to go to, and everything fell apart.
Well, I got the directive because, well, not really directive, but Dory's like, we need to go somewhere. So we thought, okay, first of the year, let's just go see the Niagara Falls and go for that little vacation, spend some time. And then we saw the places are closed, like Canada.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I guess we're not doing that.
Well, you really, I don't know. Well, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, folks, what we were trying to say is enough time, and we really do want to go find a place to go lock hubs, put the Jeep in 4-low, and hit a trail.
Absolutely. So on that, remember, it's always up to you to make sure you do the correct thing, to wheel legal, tread lightly, take nothing but pictures, memories, and your trash when you leave the trail.
Please, because we want to keep the trails open if they reopen them.
So was that a good save?
That was close enough.
Okay,
that was close enough.
Because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing the intro. I'm tired, people.
You are. It's been a long day. It's now 10:16 our time in the evening. So Scott's still got to drive halfway across Tampa to get back to his place.
32 miles.
32 miles. So anyway, y'all have a good one. 2021, new year, new attitude. It doesn't have to be a new Jeep. Just get out there and use it.
Exactly.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Patreons.
Bye.